Hello. This time I'm on my computer instead of being in VR. I wanted to kind of show something kind of pretty cool, or at least I think it's pretty cool, of a kind of a new method for calculating toon shading. Um, yeah, I'll explain basically how it works just a sec after talking about stuff. Yeah. But yeah, basically, over here you have like Unity's normal standard shader. It's all baked lighting. It's not real time. But yeah, so here you see we have like from the red light, we have red light on this side and blue light with blue light on this side. And then we have like, this is Poyomi's Toon Shader. I'm just using like normal, I haven't really done, this is all I've done in the shader, and that's pretty much it. And basically, how traditional Toon Shaders work, to my knowledge, I could be wrong, but from my understanding, from I've done toon shaders before in the past, and what I've seen how other people have done it, is that basically they get the average color, and then they calculate the direction in which the light is coming from, or the brightest light, and they create a fake shadow that's like around 75% the brightness of the average color. So basically, you get this shadow. Um, yeah, but yeah, basically it's just the average color, so it's like completely red, but then has that shadow on it that makes it look as if it has, well, it calculates that fake shadow that makes it look as if it has shadows, which looks really good. I mean, like the method that everyone pretty much uses looks really good and works really well, and there's no problems really with it. I mean, there is a little bit, which I'll go into right now, but the thing is that like if you look on standard shader, we have that red light source and we have that blue light source, but on Poyomi's Toon or pretty much any other Toon shader, you don't get that because you're just calculating the average color. You end up getting like a blend between the two colors instead of getting like a distinct red and blue side that you should be getting. But with mine, it's a bit interesting, or I don't know, the method is a bit interesting. So you see as I move it over here, you get that very distinct red and blue side. It's really, really cool, and it's not perfect. It struggles a bit, especially when there's like a big difference between switching between light and dark. But it's not, you don't really notice that very much in worlds, as there's not that big of a gap. Um, but yeah, basically how this one works is that basically first it calculates the direction in the brightest light, or the brightest baked light, I guess, or the brightest baked light. And then basically it samples the light in that direction. And then it samples the light in the opposite direction, and then it blends between the two based upon the light direction. Pretty much how normal toon shaders work. So basically, this is calculating the direction of the light, and it's making the side facing away from the light darker. From this, it's basically, after some sampling the colors of each light, it's basically putting the darker light on the side facing away from the brighter light. That's basically how it's doing it. So that's why we get the red on this side and the blue on this side, because we're closer to the red, so it's brighter than the blue. Just put on the second compared to that side. And when it's in the middle, it's not quite sure what to do because it's kind of like, it's just in the middle, so it's not really sure what to do, so the channel kind of ends up going behind. Unity Standard Shader does the same, I believe. Kinda, not really, not so much, just much better handling that compared to this. But yeah, it's really cool to get this really nice distinct look. Um, in the shader, you could also, this is just testing, so it's super, super basic right now. Also, basically, the sample difference basically controls the difference in brightness between the brightest and darkest light, so it kind of brings the samples closer together, if that makes sense. So when I go to this, you see that it kind of becomes more and more flat. So the sampling like all the way over here and all the way over here is kind of bringing the samples closer and closer together. I'm probably not explaining that very well, but yeah, so you have that. You also have the sample bias. This basically will basically make the whole shader look brighter or darker, as basically biasing when it's basically sampling the lighting. It's basically biasing it towards more the brighter light or more towards the darker light. This isn't a very good example here to show that, just due to how I have the lighting set up. It's not more visible in other scenarios, but yeah, usually for this I have that at 0.5 and 0.5 for both of them, and it looks pretty good in most worlds. But yeah, alright, now I'm going to show how that looks in a world. It's pretty cool. Yeah, over to VR chat. Alright, cool. So right now I'm going to basically turn that off right now. We're just gonna head outside. Yeah, and basically, you can see here, basic, normal, this is how toon shaders calculate lighting normally, average color, shadow, all that. Um, yeah. And if we go out here, you get lighting from the spotlight. Looks very nice. You have the nice shadows, like I explained earlier. However, that's a really bright light, and it's kind of dark on the ground. Well, it's dark outside, so you'd think that there'd be a very big difference in lighting, but there isn't, because since we're calculating the average color, and then we're adding a fake shadow based upon the direction of light, that's also a fixed color as well. I'm not sure that made sense, but it's just a level. It's like, so for example, the shadow is 75% the brightness of the main color usually. So that shadow color is always a certain amount darker than the main color of the lighting. Um, but with my system, you actually get that big difference that you normally get. So you have that really bright light up here, and they get that much darker because it's sampling the brightest light and then the darkest light, and it's mixing between the two based upon the direction of the light. It's really cool, as we actually get this big difference in lighting on the avatar. Doesn't mean it'll make it look better, but the lighting is more accurate. But it won't really make your model look better per se, because it doesn't look super great on here compared to the normal Toon lighting. But you don't get that brightness of the light because it's getting the average color of the darkest and the brightest, so it's kind of getting an in-between. But with this, you actually get that big difference between the light and the dark lights. It's really, really cool. So like if I go over here more towards a darker area, you see how that difference between the brightest light and the darkest light becomes a bit smaller, so there's not as much shadow. It's still pretty much, there's still quite a lot here. But if I go up to a window, see how we get the lighting from inside and outside. But if we turn off, go back to like the normal way Toon shaders are calculated, it's just basically calculating the average of the light coming from the inside and the outside, and then creating a fake shadow based upon the direction. With this, we're actually sampling the actual light color from inside and outside. We actually get the correct lighting that should be shown on the model. It's really, really cool. So if I go up to the front door, you see it's a very big difference versus inside and outside. If I go inside too, you can see how the difference in the shadow brightness isn't as much as without say, because the lighting here is more uniform. There's no light coming from the floor, so we still get that shadow because the lighting's coming from the ceiling. But yeah, it's really cool. Like up on stage, most lighting's coming up from the front. You see how our face is mainly lit from the front. Let's just go do cutout. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, with normal Toon shaders, you get that same effect, but you don't get that variance in brightness between the light and the dark. But with this, you do. It's just really, really cool. A much better world to show this off in would be, let's see, where is it? Yeah, Midnight Rooftop. Invite, join. Almost there. Alright, cool. Alright, cool. So, again, I'm currently using the realistic lighting and yeah, I don't know. It's just really cool. Like, we don't get that, because like very bright light, a bit darker over here. Since we on the normal 2D, you get that fixed shadow. You don't get the actual brightness of the light source and the lighting around you. You just get the average color. But with this, you actually get the actual brightness of the light and the color around you. It's really cool. Sorry if I'm not doing a super great job at explaining this. But yeah, over here is a lot easier to actually show. Like if I go to the middle, actually over here is a lot better. So I go over here to the middle of the room, you see how the lighting is a lot more averaged out compared to everything else. Because over here the lighting is just very uniform, and so it looks very uniform compared to if I go over next to a light, like over here, you see the lighting is a lot more sharp, or a lot more. There's a big difference between the brightness and the darkness. With like normal Toon shading, you don't really get that because you're just getting that average color. It's really cool because I don't know, I'm saying the same thing again and again and again. I don't know, you get the point. Hopefully you get the point. It's just a really cool new way of doing lighting. It may not necessarily be better in terms for looks, but it is more accurate, I think, at least. But yeah, it's really, I don't know, you get like this very big difference in lighting between light and dark because you're next to a very, very bright light and then more towards a darker area, but you don't get that with normal Toon shading. Yeah, it's just really, really cool. But yeah, that's this little short video. Yeah, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it made some sense.